Hey, what's up, y'all? Man, I've been in and out of the workforce for the last 7 to 8 years, bouncing between either having a job or working for myself as an entrepreneur. The first time I left my job, I worked for myself for about 6 months or so. The last time I left my 9 to 5, I was working for myself for about 22 months. So almost 2 years, right? I'm just going to talk about the things that I've noticed in terms of the difference of the mindset of an entrepreneur and a 9 to 5 employee. And I don't know if they're going to be pros or cons. You guys can take it for what it is, and you can decide or interpret whether it's a pro or con. But just going to talk about some observations, things that I've noticed, and the mindset shift that I had to make. So with entrepreneurship, it's always something to be done, right? Opposed to having a 9 to 5 where you're kind of locked into a certain time frame of work. With entrepreneurship, you're working 24/7, right? There's always something to be done. There's always something to improve. There's always something to revisit or rework, and it's not really any set hours. So a lot of people who think, oh, I'm gonna leave my job because I want to work for myself and I want to have more freedom. Well, that's a false ideology. That is not true at all. You're going to be working probably more if you want your business to be successful. And opposed to having one boss, you're going to have multiple bosses. In my situation, I have a video production company, so my clients became my bosses in a sense, right? Not in terms of, oh, they were telling me what to do. Well, in some ways they do, right? The customer's always right. But your clients are the people that you're serving, right? So you're going to be serving them and trying to make sure their needs are fulfilled, opposed to a supervisor giving you instructions or directions to complete certain tasks and making sure that they're satisfied with the work. So it's all about how you want to work. You want to just serve the needs of one person's instructions, or do you want to have to cultivate relationships with multiple people and have multiple people telling you what to do? Not what to do, but making suggestions or making their preference known to you, and you have to deliver on those preferences, right? So that's one thing I definitely noticed that was different in terms of coming home from work and being able to shut off work completely. It's not the case with a 9 to 5. You're always brainstorming. You're always thinking of something. There's always a task that has to be done, whether it's marketing, some type of customer service, emailing, phone calls, text messages, scheduling meetings, actually doing the work. In my case, it was a lot of course, video production, doing the production, editing the videos, and also delivering those videos to the client. But something else that I noticed is that, with entrepreneurship, you only eat what you kill, meaning you only get rewarded for executing and closing the deal with clients, right? So you can do a whole lot of marketing, and you may say you send an email out to 2,000 people, you may get 2 or 3 responses, if that. And when you get those responses, you set up the meeting, but now you actually have to try to convert those clients into or convert those meetings into paying customers or paying clients. And that's a major difference compared to when you're working a 9 to 5. You're on the clock, you have a set amount of hours, you have a set salary, and you know your paycheck is going to be X amount of dollars, either weekly or bi-weekly, right? So yeah, you're always on the hunt in a sense, right? You're trying to find who that next client is, who that next customer is going to be. You're doing research on different organizations, different events, whatever the case may be. You're only going to get rewarded. You're only going to get paid if you execute and close the deal. With that being said, I noticed going back into the workforce almost after 2 years, a lot of people, they're on you're punching the clock, but you can steal a lot of money on the clock. I was just so shocked about, how so many people in my office were just like chilling. Like, it's very like laxed and just skating through the day and just, wait until 5 o'clock rolls around. I'm just like, man, it's such a different mindset, because for almost 2 years, I'm just like, I gotta get it. I'm on the grind, I'm hustling, I'm trying to make something happen. So it's always something to be done in my mind. I'm just like, yo, I gotta get to it. Always being under deadline in my situation too. Being on the deadline to get videos done, it's like, you gotta get ahead of the deadline. So I'm always working to stay ahead. And with this new job that I have, it's such a different pace. It's very slow compared to what I've been doing for the last 2 years. And I'm like, wow. So that was an adjustment. And I just, I realized there was like no sense of urgency with a lot of the people that work that I work with or work around me. And then just talking to like different colleagues of mine or different associates and the way that they think, just hearing their experiences throughout their career and talking about how they've been at this job for 10, 15, 20 years, and they just kept getting promotions and kept climbing the ladder in the department or whatever, which is great. But it's like, I don't know if they have any other aspirations outside of the job, right? And I'm not saying that that's wrong. That's not wrong, but it's like, for me, I was always thinking about, what I'm building and what I want to create on my own, and just striving for more. It's kind of like with a job, you can only grow when they allow you to grow, when they give you that bonus or that promotion. And it's kind of like they hanging the carrot on the stick, that type of analogy where you just keep reaching forward, and then they raise the bar, they move the goalposts, and you got to strive for the next thing. Opposed to entrepreneurship, it's like you set the tone, or you set the worth, you set what your value is, and people pay you according to that, opposed to a job or a boss telling you how much you're worth, right? Oh, I'm going to give you a 6% promotion because you've been here for 5 years or whatever. The growth is like a very slow pace. I'm just not a huge fan of that. I'm a firm believer of, you should pay me for not only how I do the job, but how I get the job done in a timely manner with the expertise that I bring to the work. It's just a totally different ball game. Coming from a world where I'm like doing a whole bunch of contract negotiations, it's like, okay, if the client wants more work or like additional work added to the original scope of work, I'm charging you for that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting paid for every line item on that budget, on that proposal. And with a job, it's like, it's a lot of gray area where they can just say, oh, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And you don't get no extra pay for that. You don't get no extra bonus for that. Oh, I need you to stay late tonight. You don't get paid extra for that. Your salary is your salary. Oh, I need you to come in on a Saturday morning, last minute, which I don't do. Like, we got to have boundaries. Like, that's one thing I've learned too. Definitely set those boundaries early on. But yeah, it's just like, I'm coming from a world where it's like, nah, if you want X, Y, and Z, you got to pay me for X, Y, and Z. And now there's just so much gray area that I got to, relearn this way of working. The job, I think a lot of people, they want the safety of a 9-to-5. They want that security, which I totally get, especially in this economy nowadays. Like, it's a little crazy. Like, so having a steady paycheck in these living conditions of this economy, I think is definitely not a bad thing. But a lot of people want that more than they want whatever their dream is, right? So I've had like coworkers that I've spoken with, and like, I'm talking to them about the stuff that I'm still doing outside the job, and they're just like, oh wow, like, what, you doing that when you get home? Like, you do that on the weekend? And it's like, yeah, because I'm still trying to build my own thing. You know what I mean? The job pays the bills, I'm still trying to build my own thing. And hearing them talk about their dreams, it's like, I think they're just talking. They like the idea or the concept of whatever their dream is, but they're not really willing to put in the work to accomplish that dream. And I think to myself, like, I wonder how much of this job is interfering with your dream. You know what I mean? Because the steady check can definitely kill your dream. You know what I mean? People get comfortable with the steady check. They get comfortable with the routine. They get comfortable with the security and the safety of having a job, to the point where now it just feels like, you kind of just fit the mold and you just settle right there in that space. Once again, not saying that's wrong, but just pointing out the differences of the two different mindsets. To me, it's really hard for me to like shut off my dreams and shut off my aspirations, my goals in life outside of the workplace. So it's just hard for me to understand that mindset of just saying, hey, this is it. Like, I'm just gonna ride this wave, work here for 20 years, get this pension, and die. You know what I mean? Essentially. So yeah, it's different. It's really, really different. It's kind of been like a culture shock, because like I work in a cubicle, and I'm like, what is this? I don't even know what do I do with this thing? People telling me, oh, you should decorate your cubicle and put your stuff up. I don't know what to put up here. Like, I'm so used to being active and out and working and grinding and doing a shoot and filming here and doing this, that. And that's the type of work environment that I like. But so much of this job is like sitting behind a cubicle waiting for something to happen. It's been quite the adjustment. Also, in my opinion, I think there's a lot more brain power being used as an entrepreneur opposed to working a job, depending on what the job is, of course. But I want to say the average job, you're not using, the most of your brain's capacity on a daily basis. Entrepreneurship, like I said, you're always actively thinking. You're always actively brainstorming. You're always trying to solve a problem or get to a checkpoint or get to a solution. And with a job, it's like I said, you can just kind of coast, and there's not really a lot of productivity happening every single day at a job. But going back to the brain capacity, the downside of that is entrepreneurship can also be like psychological warfare. You're conducting business is war. Like, I don't want you to get it twisted. A lot of people think entrepreneurship is sweet, but you got to really be cut out for it and built for that type of lifestyle where you got to deal with contract negotiations. You got to deal with people trying to undercut you and pay you less than what you're worth, and then you got to advocate for yourself and say, no, this is the price, this, we can do this for X amount of dollars. If you don't want to pay that, then we can only offer such and such. Like, these are the real conversations that you have to have. And if you don't have the backbone to fight for yourself and defend yourself in those situations, then you're going to struggle with entrepreneurship, because people, everybody's trying to protect the bottom line. Everybody's trying to protect their bottom line, and their goal is to keep as much money in their pocket as possible. And your goal as a business person is to extract as much money as you can from them as much as possible. And that's just the real deal. You want to get what you're worth. You want to get actually more than what you're worth, so that you can continue to build the business. With that being said, you also want to over deliver to the customer so they feel like, oh, okay, this was worth what we paid, right? That's always going to make the customer happy. But shifting back to the 9-to-5, going back to the productivity of a 9-to-5, or lack thereof, most tasks can be done in like 2 to 3 hours. And I find myself just like chilling for the rest of the day. Why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, I can knock out 2 or 3 tasks at the first in the morning, and then have the afternoon to myself and just be thinking like, all right, well, that's done. And then I start, being who I am. I start brainstorming about what I can do outside of the job when I get home. But yeah, it's just like, man, I didn't realize how much people are just chilling on the clock at the workplace. I just didn't realize it. Like, so many water cooler conversations happening. It's like, why are we having this conversation? Just small talk for the sake of having small talk. And when you're an entrepreneur, it's like, yo, I don't have time. I really don't have time to be sitting here talking about the potluck or what you brought in for the potluck. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe that's a little too harsh, but it's just such a mindset shift. It's such a difference. And I just, wanted to get on here and share that with y'all, man, because you got to know what you're about to step into. If you're going to leave the workforce and go into entrepreneurship, you got to know, not only from like a business acumen standpoint, but also just the culture of entrepreneurs. When you're around other entrepreneurs and you listen to how they think and how they move and how they operate, and then you talk to them about the clients that they deal with and realize like, man, this is really shark infested waters out here. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be ready to fight. You gotta be ready to fight if you're gonna be an entrepreneur and go into business for yourself. And in order to have that fight, you gotta have a very, very strong sense of belief in yourself. That's the only thing that's gonna keep you sustained. That's the only thing that's going to keep you grounded and keep you going, is that belief in yourself. And if you're doing the opposite and going from entrepreneurship back to 9-to-5, which I have done, and I know others have done it as well, it's also good to know what to prepare for in terms of reverting back to that mindset. Some things don't really fly in the workplace, in a corporate setting, the way that it would in a business setting. Something to think about. I hope this was helpful, or I hope this, shed some light on my, these type of experiences. I hope you guys got something out of this, and, I'll be back with more experiences and sharing my story with you all as I balance both now, as I balanced both the 9-to-5 life and the entrepreneurship life, and trying to live my best life. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until next time.